Hi friends and fellow flute enthusiasts, thanks for tuning in to Jonny's Flute Reviews. I'm Jonny Lipford, and since 2002 I've dedicated myself to everything flute. I teach, perform, and record full-time with the Native American flute. I post videos here on YouTube covering flute tips, tutorials, original songs, and cover songs to showcase how versatile the Native American flute is. If you're new here and interested in becoming a more emotive flute player, or you just love listening to the sounds of the Native American flute, be sure you subscribe and hit that little bell so you're notified every time a new video drops. Now, let's dive into a flute from my personal collection. All right, welcome back. In this episode, we're going to be looking at a flute made by Cousin Bruce. He has been making flutes for some time now, and the flute that I hold in my hand is called a Native American drone flute, a dual chambered flute, or a double flute. They go by a couple of different names. I like to call them drone flutes. This flute is in the key of F sharp minor, and so you'll notice that it's a little wider. Those of you that have never seen a drone flute before, it's a little wider. It has two sound holes here. It has two mouthpieces here, or mouth holes here, and it has two barrels in it as well. So it's constructed from this one piece of wood. This one particularly is made from Paduke and has a yellow heart block here on top. And so on my right side here, what I have is a regular flute. It plays the minor pentatonic. Of course, it's chromatic. We've talked about that in other videos, but it is tuned to kind of the modern basic scale of the Native American flute. And on my left side, there are no playing holes. Now, these holes down here are called tuning holes. You don't actually play them. They are a method for tuning the flute rather than making it shorter and keep cutting off the end of the flute. Flute makers will often put tuning holes to allow the air to escape the bore here rather than at the end of the flute here. So on my left side, there are no playing holes on this flute, but it does play two notes, and the notes that you'll hear are the root note or the fundamental note. And then with breath control, this is what I love about drone flutes. With breath control, I like to be able to push it up into the octave. And so I like my drone flutes personally. We get into this word about preference. I prefer a drone flute that is a little more sensitive, so that way I can have better control with breath of this drone side. I'll show you what I mean. So this one, I'm just going to be playing the left side. So I'm going to angle the flute a little bit and purse my lips and play the flute only on that left side. So no holes here on the left side. So a root note and then an octave note. So with breath control, I can really control that. Now for me, I talked about preference. For me personally, I like to be able to, if I'm playing a little bit softer, I can still hit that fundamental note and the flute will stay there. But as I get about halfway up on the flute side, on this melody side of the drone, I like to be able to just give it a little bit, I'll tongue the note and give a little bit more breath. And remember, in other videos, in how-to videos, we talk about the shape of our mouth. This is important when we play a drone flute as well. We talk about velocity controlling, or the shape of the mouth rather, controlling the velocity in which travels through the flute. So I'll play a little bit of the flute side. You'll get a little idea of how this flute sounds. It's really crisp. It's really responsive. Cousin Bruce has been making flutes for a while. I have a couple more drones of his on the way currently, and just really appreciate what he does in the flute community. So this is just the flute side. Now I'm going to add the drone side to that, and you'll get an idea of what this sounds like. And remember, drone flutes typically take a little bit more breath, so we may have to work with phrasing. When you play a drone flute, your phrases may end up being a little shorter. You never want to run completely out of breath, so just be mindful of that as you play drone flutes, or triple flutes for that matter. They take a little bit more breath as well. So here we go, the drone flute. So drone flutes can be very, very expressive. I am working on piloting some workshops and tutorials on drone flutes specifically. I get a lot of emails about drone flutes. Of course, the regular, what we know as the regular drone flute, but also there's a lot of harmony drone flutes out there. There are drone flutes that also have a couple of holes down here on the drone side that you can plug or kind of move what your constant harmony note is. And also you can also play it where you're actually playing a melody side over here, kind of like a harmony drone as well. And then you get into triple flutes and things get a little bit more complicated. So I'm working on putting together some tutorial and helpful videos for those of you that are interested in drone flutes. If that's the case, be sure to sign up for my newsletter. You can find information to that in the description below. You'll also find some links to some of the gear that I use for live performances, as well as some other links to tutorials and helpful videos along your flute journey. So that wraps up this episode of Jonny's Flute Reviews. And make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so you're notified when more videos like this drop. I would greatly appreciate it. So stay tuned as we uncover more flutes from my collection. We've got a lot to go through.